Good afternoon, everyone. Today, I would like to talk about Chinese art exhibition in the US. The alien nature of China's conquest dynasties has enabled their visual cultures to obtain extra attention in the museum world, with numerous exhibitions well demonstrating how displays of Chinese art in the West could shape the scholarly field and enhance public knowledge in particular historical moment. In this talk, I would discuss two fundamental exhibitions in the US, Chinese art under the Mongols, planned by Sherman Lee at the Cleveland Museum of Art in 1968, and The World of Kublai Khan, a large international project led by James Cahill at the Metropolitan Museum in 2010. These two case studies demonstrate how narratives in Yuan art have developed over the years to formulate new interpretations. They raised challenging questions for public discussion, such as, did the Mongol rule change the nature of Chinese art and contribute to its development? Is artist Yuan painting truly revolutionary? Can we say Yuan art is a synthesis of previous styles and traditions? By addressing these crucial issues, these exhibitions challenged traditional Sino-centric views and influenced the appreciation of Chinese art for the years to come. I think it's frozen. This well-known painting from the National Palace Museum depicts the hunting scene of Kublai Khan, the founding emperor of the Yuan dynasty. It could be viewed as an iconic representation of the romantic rulers in Chinese history, who established their domination over Han subjects while maintaining their original lifestyles. Here, non-Han riders stand out clearly before our eyes, involving in hunting on the steppe. Their favorite pastimes are so different from the gentle pursuits of the Han people in the south. Traditionally, Chinese scholars were reluctant to pay attention to these dynasties that had foreign ruling houses because their regions either lived shortly or only occupied part of China. And a deeper reason, I believe, linked to the cultural pride of the Han Chinese, who often assumed Chinese civilization could not be dominated by the wicked foreign occupants. The nomadic invaders would be quickly assimilated by the more advanced Han culture. After World War II, more attention was given to the non-Han Chinese dynasties, especially after the term conquest dynasties, 征服王朝, was introduced in the 1947 book, History of Chinese Society, dedicated to the Liao history. This term had a universal appeal when referring to Khitan Liao, Jurchen Jin, Mongol Yuan, and Manchu Qing, dynasties founded by non-Han peoples from the north. It simplified complex relationships between various groups into a basic dichotomy, the conquerors and the conquered. This allows scholars to zoom into the tensions between nomadic rulers and their civilized subjects to have more fun in their studies. But still, it was widely believed that the Mongols only care about their nomadic traditions and paid little attention to cultural creation. When talking about sweeping exhibitions of Chinese art, you may say most people would normally think of the blockbuster exhibition of the Chinese art treasures from the National Palace Museum in 1961. But I would like to argue that the Cleveland Museum in 1968 has more scholarly impact in the field and is more groundbreaking in terms of directing art appreciation in this country. To promote its cultural heritage, the Taiwanese government sent out many national treasures that would never travel abroad again. As you probably noticed from this gallery installation view, lots of painting works occupied the lawns from Taiwan. Among the 231 works on loan, 112 works are paintings. This reflects the new interest in Chinese art at that moment, when some pioneering scholars promoted painting as the best examples to represent the accomplishments of Chinese art. By then, art appreciation was still under the influence of the dominating Japanese ideas, which treated classical works of Tang and Song periods as the best. Thus, among the paintings, 68 works are from Tang and Song. Only 22 works are from Yuan, and the other 22 from Ming and Qing. Clearly, later paintings were not treated with much scholarly interest. To some extent, the 1961 exhibition was similar to the Chinese art exhibition in London in 1936, which highlighted the long tradition of Chinese art and the court treasures from imperial collections. As this gallery photo suggests, this show followed the earlier tradition of international exhibition to present a mixture of various samples of arts and crafts from a remote place. Although it had some 3,000 works, the ceramics and decorative arts occupied the large bulk of the loans. Therefore, the first exhibition to break away from this exposition model and to discuss a specific dynasty and conduct serious scholarly discussions on art historical topics would be the Cleveland exhibition. Here is a photo of Sherman Lee, the mastermind behind the exhibition and the legendary director of the Cleveland Museum of Art for decades. A knowledgeable scholar of Asian art, Lee was originally trained as an art historian on Western watercolor paintings. He later joined the Navy to cataloging and investigating art relics in Japan, where he gradually trained his connoisseurship on East Asian painting. In the US, the historical prejudice towards nomadic peoples influenced the art history from the very beginning, as Ernst Fenosa, a scholar who first educated Americans with the beauty of Asian art, once described the Mongols as a word scourge. Due to the negligence, Mongol Yuan had not been the subject of specific study or exhibition. The lack of understanding of Mongol cultural tradition made Yuan a dumping ground for artworks with unidentified traditions and exotic elements. To change this old view, Lee had to do justification for his exhibition before the public. In his opinion, Yuan is a short, foreign reign with crucial and painful problems that changed the nature of Chinese art, but it would become one of the most productive and creative in Chinese cultural history. With convincing visual evidence, Lee's exhibition successfully illustrates that this conquest dynasty is not barbaric, but a civilized one with great accomplishments. It consists of 309 works, including 132 ceramics and 89 paintings. Here are some historical photos of the exhibition event. A group of large sculptural works became star pieces in the show, receiving lots of attention from the audience and the photographer. A lady is amazed by before a 10-feet tall wooden bodhisattva, while the other, wearing a kimono, is closely observing a seated wooden statue of the guardian king of the East. Both statues are from Shanxi province and dated around 1300. As a medium, often made after proven models, religious sculpture had less change and mainly reflected a revival of the late Tang traditions. Unlike sculpture, Yuan's ceramics and lacquers had many innovations, creating a rich vocabulary from both old and new elements. Li particularly appreciated Cizhou wells, traditionally neglected by Chinese elite collectors. He loved these works that demonstrate the creation of individual local artisans. The rich styles and decorations of these works, rather than their technical perfection, met his expectation of works of art that could constantly excite the eye and the imagination of the viewer. Lee also introduced the famous temple vase from London's David Foundation, which had an inscription dated to 1351 and became a benchmark for the dating of blue and white porcelains. It thus confirms the contribution of Mongol Yuan in fashioning blue and white porcelain in China and beyond. More importantly, this exhibition promoted the studies of Chinese literati painting in the US. This painting journal provided the best perspectives for the Western audience to connect past and present, East and West. The elite rebelling against traditional art attracted much scholarly attention in the 1960s, when a series of countercultural movements spread across the US. During the preparation of the show, the Summer of Love movement occurred on the West Coast, while China was experiencing the chaotic moment of the Cultural Revolution. The serious studies of later Chinese paintings had started in the West by then. As the foundation of the literati painting tradition, the Yuan dynasty was naturally received special attention. Many revolutionary qualities in Yuan painting could be observed in the avant-garde art of the time. To highlight revolutionary development occurred in Yuan dynasty, Li called this tumultuous period a true watershed in Chinese cultural and social life. Wai Kang Ho, the curator who supported Li in this exhibition, also claimed that the entire cultural scene of the 14th century was the universal humiliation and frustration of these scholars and the various forms of their reactions. As shown in the graphic bamboo scroll by Li Kan and the blend landscape by Li Zan, the appearance of ink painting was radically altered by scholar painters. After 1340, the balance between tradition and innovation was interrupted due to the social and cultural upheavals of the time. A new literati style achieved dominance in which ink playing was promoted and the need for form likeness was neglected. This also represents a crucial moment to break from the influence of Japanese connoisseurship on Chinese painting. Because the Japanese lacked interest in Ming and Qing painting, Westerners who studied their Chinese painting collection from a Japanese point of view thus lacked an appreciation of later Chinese paintings. This exhibition certainly improved that situation at that moment. Before I talk about the Met show, I would like to introduce another important Yuan exhibition from Taiwan. It was Age of the Great Khan, Pluralism in Chinese Art and Culture under the Mongols, held at the National Palace Museum in 2001. This exhibition applied a comprehensive method to discuss a variety of mediums and styles in Yuan art. It introduced a global perspective and a view of pluralism in Yuan culture. It also emphasized several particular aspects of Yuan art, including the polyethnic society, the multi-origin of the educated gentry class, the art patronage of Yuan rulers, the development of Tibetan Buddhist art, and the recursive life of scholar painters. Notably, this is the first large exhibition from the National Palace Museum after Du Zhensheng took office as its director in 2000. Despite his personal vision and political stand, Du's promotion of this pluralism in the Mongol Empire initiated a new trend to remove the old syncretization models in the studies of Chinese art. He also realized the limitation of the National Palace Museum's exhibition material because its collection was based on previous imperial collections, though he believes the exhibition still opened the door for future exploration. This map from the last year of Kublai Khan's rule helps to illustrate the dual role of the empire. Yuan is a dynasty of China, while it also made China part of a world empire founded by the Mongols. On one hand, the Mongols were involved in the modification of Song culture after they conquered all of China. These nomadic rulers learned from their Chinese predecessors about the cultural and political importance of art and thus followed old conventions to display, collect, and patronize the arts. On the other hand, Yuan China is the largest among the four Mongol khanates, with its emperor the nominal great Khan of all others. Yuan maintained a close relationship with the Ir Khanate, which was founded by Kublai Khan's younger brother. Free travels of merchants and pilgrims, frequent circulation of artisans, and a huge transportation network allowed the exchange of artistic and cultural ideas on Eurasia to thrive at an unprecedented level under the Pax Mongolica. Because Yuan has a population with diverse origins, many officials at its court came from various ethnic groups and spoke different languages. Many non-Han scholars who attended literary gatherings hosted by their Han peers could skillfully engage in literary activities. This landscape painting by a Muslim Uyghur painter named Gao Kegong offers a good chance to see how scholars were able to use ink art to transcend racial and cultural boundaries. The literary bamboo painting on the side by Wu Zhen, one of the four great masters of late Yuan, also shows reclusive life stimulated innovative artistic creation and free self-expression among the educated elites. Many Han scholars lost their opportunities to serve in office, while others selected to withdraw from public life. Like Wu Zhen, many of them turned to religion and literature for spiritual consolation. The regrets left in the Taipei exhibition were finally made up 10 years later at the Metropolitan Museum. The world of Kublai Khan, Chinese art in the Yuan dynasty held there, carried the global view and the idea of pluralism from the Taipei show, and managed to make new breakthroughs through an integration of archaeological material and new methodologies of visual cultural studies, covering the period from Kublai Khan's birth in 1215 to the demise of the dynasty in 1368. This exhibition successfully defined a Yuan style as a result of the mix of artistic traditions from various sources across Eurasia. This exhibition also worked as a sequential to the earlier one, China Dawn of a Golden Age, which explored the formation of Tang art as a result of the period of political division and cultural interactions. Here are the impressive views at the entrance, with marble statues of civil and military officials over 9 feet tall. Since the time of the Cleveland exhibition, numerous new venues of inquiry have appeared in the material cultural studies of conquest dynasties. The social cultural conflicts and racial confrontations were not strategically emphasized as the drive for art revolution. Instead, more attention was paid to an environment characterized by ethnic interactions and cultural eclecticism that led to new heights of artistic creation. This exhibition consists of 4 sections. The first section showcases the construction of cosmopolitan Yuan capitals and the development of urban culture, featuring monumental sculpture and architectural works. Nearly a half of the works are from archaeological context. These discoveries enabled a great field of vision and more detailed knowledge of specific areas or regional styles. Thus, the exhibition could break through the limits of material types and compare works from different categories. This is my favorite section because it has so many lively examples such as stage models and performing actors that highlights the prosperous activities of urban entertainment and popular theater. The second section of the religious art gathers pictorial and sculptural works from Buddhism, Taoism, Nestorian Christianity, and Hinduism. Aside from traditional pictorial works, it also uses lots of archaeological finds and temple relics to reveal that a mixture of different religious practices existed in Yuan society, and people with different beliefs lived in the same neighborhood. Yuan rulers had an open attitude towards different religions, though many of them were pious believers of Tibetan Buddhism. The third section showcases the development of painting and calligraphy, while the last section displays the accomplishment in decorative arts. Besides a forthright introduction to the development of Chinese painting, this section uses terracotta wooden prints on loan from the Hermitage in Russia to discuss the development of narrative painting and vernacular literature. Illustrated fiction books provide new sources for beloved storytelling pictures decorated on porcelain and lacquer works in rich households. Yuan signals a new beginning and set up standards for the development of traditional arts in the next few centuries. Here, I would like to make some quick observation on the two exhibitions. They both successfully presented joint ventures combining exhibitions, catalogs, and symposiums, which had lasting impacts in the field. Many factors would affect the selection of exhibition loans, but I believe that from what was shown in both venues and what were only featured once, we can notice changed taste and shifted emphasis in defining and exhibiting Yuan art. Here you see visitors enjoying a seated bodhisattva from Asian Art Museum collection. Fortunately, my museum now owns 18 works that were once shown in Cleveland. The majority of them were ceramics, and the two paintings are of particular importance to show the Yuan figure painting as a revival of the Tang tradition. One is the tribute bearers, attributed to Ren Bowen, the grandson of the famous horse painter Ren Renfa. The artist depicts India, Tata, and Turk figures with the Tang Dynasty Western manner made famous by Yu Chi Yisen from Central Asia, whose work featured iron line fine drawings. This work also shows the grand vision of the Mongols as rulers of the whole Eurasia and taking tributes such as horses and jewelry from different parts of the world. This one is a former portrait of Southern Song minister Zhao Ding, made for the veneration at a local shrine in his hometown Shanxi. Zhao was not only a royal Han official who insisted on fighting against the Tatars and supported the famous General Yue Fei, but a prominent sponsor of the Neo-Confucian school. The worship of Song and Confucian of paragons thrived in the north, along with the spread of Neo-Confucianism in the middle of the Yuan period. The refined depiction of the face and the clothing of the figure is based on a fine line manner that could be traced back to Tang. After the show, this work was sold to the Asian Art Museum by Jean-Pierre Dubosc, a French scholar and who promoted the appreciation of later Chinese painting. He was also the son-in-law of C.T. Lu. Dubosc worked with Lawrence Sickman to organize the first Ming Qing painting exhibition in the US. He also helped many museums acquire their best Ming and Qing paintings and Song and Yuan lacquer works. From those paintings added or absent in the Met exhibition, we can also observe some changes in guiding the appearance of Yuan, appreciation of Yuan art. For instance, 5 works by Zhao Mengfu were selected this time, in contrast to only one of his paintings some 40 years ago. This suggests an increasing attention paid to this scholar, who is now regarded as the most prominent artist of time. The Ink Orchard of Zheng Sixiao and Prose by of Wang Mian, 2 examples of the iconic descent to the Mongol rule, were not featured in the discussion of the Met catalog. So the Met exhibition forthrightly analyzed the period, though it did not place much attention on the radical social and cultural conflicts on the impact on the development of the literati painting. Interestingly, many Taoist artworks were borrowed again some 40 years later, possibly due to the rarity of surviving Taoist paintings and the renewed interest in connecting these works to other recent finds of murals and decorative arts. Portrait of Li Dongbing from Nelson Atkins and the views of the mountains of immortals from Cleveland suggest the popularity of Taoist beliefs in all works of life in Yuan society. Finally, I would like to use two works from the match show, Zhao Mengfu's Twin Pines, Level Distance, and the blue and white plurals battle with the motifs of scholars' four favorites, flowers, to encourage more contemplation on what best represents Yuan art and what is the role of Mongol rule in directing the course of Chinese art in foreign centuries. Both literati painting and blue and white porcelain have now become appreciated by viewers from East and West. They could not obtain such an iconic role as brand names of Chinese art if China was not ruled by the Mongols.
We have to come to an end, Fan.
Right.
Can you come to the last sentence?
Yeah, so the telling of art stories is always fragmentary and challenging, but the audience enjoys seeing from exhibitions the inspirational light that reflects the history of the past. Thus, we need more stimulating exhibitions of foreign dynasties to reveal the diversity and complexity of Chinese visual culture, allowing us to envision new possibilities in the study of the steppe cultures and beyond. Thank you for your attention.